Hello, welcome back to my channel. So, if you didn't notice yet, we're in November now. Isn't that crazy? It in some ways doesn't feel like it's been that many months yet since the beginning of the year. In other ways, it's been a long year, and maybe this last couple months have felt like a lot more than a couple months. Either way, we're in November 1st, which means it's time for a new monthly TBR. So, my TBR for this month is all the books on the shelf behind me. So, it's got 3 levels, but it's not full. You'll notice that compared to last month's TBR, this is actually not a lot of books. And, I'm in the middle of moving. And every book that I don't have on this shelf, I can move without worrying about whether it's something that I was supposed to be reading on my TBR. So, all the rest of the books in the apartment will be making their way in a steady trickle up the alley to the new place. And these will be the only books that live here when I am leaving. We'll see when that is. I have to wait until I have a place lined up for my kittens to go. So once that's done, once the kittens are gone, then I can call in my friends that can move furniture, and we'll move the rest of my stuff that day probably, and we'll be done. But I have no idea what day that's going to be. And with ringworm kittens, they need to go somewhere where if they had a flare-up of their ringworm, they would be able to handle it. So not all shelters are set up where that wouldn't be a problem. Some are, and ringworm is a lot more treatable than people used to think it was. And it's a lot less contagious than people used to think it was. Now that folks have figured out that the contagion is on the hairs, they know more what to focus on to prevent spread. If your cat or kitten is healthy and you're controlling hair, dryers, it turns out, and not keeping your wash loads too full are a lot more of how you prevent ringworm from spreading than all the cleaners that people try to use. Because the spores are just around anyway. Most of us don't get ringworm, even though the spores are all around us as we speak, because we're not sick and being exposed to a heavy enough load of contagion. And anyway, so nice little aside on ringworm. But obviously not everybody is set up for dealing with it, so I don't know when we'll find a place for my 5 kittens to go, and hopefully it'll be soon. I'm waiting on a call from someone that might have an idea of what we're going to do with them next. And then I get to move, and you guys will get to see a totally new background. Hopefully we'll get the internet set up so that it works smoothly soon enough that it'll work for that. But I'm not going to be doing live streams anyway for a while, so it should be a fairly smooth transition for booktubing. So anyway, without any further ado, let's get on to books. Yeah, before I get 4 minutes in with no books. Oh my gosh. So first up, paperbacks. I'm going to do all my paperbacks in this video for sure. And if it gets ridiculously long, I might do a second video for the other ones. But there will only be 2, not 3. So for my attempting to read some books from the Boxall's 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list, I've added The Robber Bride to my TBR for this month. The only 2 books I have left to read by Margaret Atwood for that list are The Robber Bride and Surfacing. I don't own Surfacing. I do have The Robber Bride. Alright. Then I have 3 books by Mary Stewart. I have Touch Not the Cat, The Moon Spinners, and This Rough Magic. So These are part of a stack that I borrowed from a friend, and I'm hoping to get them all done by the end of the month. But half of them I'm going to read when I get to the other place. So I've got one P.D. James this month, Unnatural Causes. I've read about half of P.D. James's books. So, yeah, all the rest of my books by P.D. James are bigger. So they did not make this cut because they don't fit nicely on this stack. They will be for later in the month or in December. Ray Bradbury, From the Dust Returned. I read some Ray Bradbury last month, and I'll actually have one more this month besides that one. In the paperback books, I have 3 Andre Nortons. I'm really working on finishing more of the Andre Nortons. This is a project my sister and I have been working on for years, and we get partway done and we get distracted. So I think at this point we've acquired pretty much all of Andre Norton's books. At some point we actually went through the lists of all the official books by Andre Norton and checked them off and ordered the ones we didn't have. So at least we know that when we finish all the ones we have, we're probably close to done reading Andre Norton. But we've had several moves and book shuffles since then, so they're not all in one place anymore. Although I think most of the ones that we still have to read are in my collection at the moment, which makes it a little easier. So this month I'm going to be working on Quest Cross Time, Knave of Dreams, and Operation Time Search. I have one Tamora Pierce book that I borrowed from a friend, different friend this time. I've read a few of Tamora Pierce's books. This is book 4 of the Shatterglass series, which I did read all the ones leading up to this. And I don't know if there's more that friend doesn't own, or if I have more that she'll be sending me when I finish this one. Alright. Another category of books. A lot of my paperbacks are these categories of books that I'm working on reading. At some point, a couple years ago, my brother's coworker gave him a whole box of books they were getting rid of. Turned out to be a whole bunch of The Executioner, The Destroyer. Both of those are men's adventure where all the women are sexually willing or can be made so, sometimes with unacceptable violence involved. The hero man is an everyman hero, and somehow he is able to take down all these bad guys single-handedly while getting injured, but being injured very badly, he can still manage to shoot straight. Always. Well, almost always. Sometimes the girl has to rescue him, or chance saves him, or anyway. I read a few of them. I read a lot of the Destroyer ones. I liked them a little bit better than the Executioner. The Executioner got a little bit overly unpleasant. But I did read a bunch of those before I got rid of the rest. These are the other ones that were in the box, the Star Trek paperbacks. And I don't have the full series of the old series or the Next Generation, but there were a lot of them, and I had a few already. So I think there were some Deep Space Nine books as well. But I picked out 5. There's 4 here. There's one that my cat knocked off somewhere. But there'll be a 5th one when I locate it. Alright. And then we have the random other category. I never did get to Conan, so the next Conan book is in the stack. I'm just going to move the rest of the Conan series to the new place. If I finish that one and really want to read the next one, I can go get it. But for now, I didn't get to it at all this last month. I finished half of this book, so I'm going to try and finish the rest of it. The Years of Rice and Salt by Kim Stanley Robinson. It's kind of an alternate history in China, which is interesting because I did study Chinese history. I kind of am picking up where it changes. So, Deeper Than the Darkness by Greg Benford. I had thought that I finished this book until I found it with a bookmark still in it and realized that I don't remember anything past the bookmark. So I need to actually finish that one. And I carried over the W. Somerset Maugham book from last month. I also carried over the first of the stack of Ben Bova Grand Tour series. So I don't have to read the whole series before I move, but I do have one of them here. And I put together my Falling Apart copy of Human Bondage. This is the one I had initially last month. And I do wonder about the length of this thing, because it's not very long. I guess the pages are just really thin. 300 pages. But then I have this over 100-year-old copy of Human Bondage. So between the two, I'll read the whole thing. The reason I'm skeptical about the other copy is that the 100-year-old version is over 700 pages. So I do wonder if this one is abridged, because I don't think the writing is so different in size that you can fit 700 pages in 300 pages without losing something. So both are falling apart. I'm not going to rebind the paperback one, just the older one. Alright, so that's my paperbacks. And I will do a second TBR for the rest of my TBR. So part 1 is this video. Part 2 will be the next one. And hopefully this will take me through to half of a month. Maybe less. If I figure out where these kittens can go, like this week, I will be finishing moving this week. But in the meantime, these will be the paperbacks I'm reading for November 2023. Check out the next video for the rest.